Hey, how's it going? I'm so glad that you came to join me on this wonderful day, night, whenever it is that you're tuning in. I know you have a choice. So thanks. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to be hitting up a subject matter that is not a fun one. It's a subject, ironically, that people want to talk about, but they don't want to bring it up. They're afraid of it. I admit. When I was in support groups and I was like wanting to discuss it, but it's a sensitive subject. It can be one of shame, it can be one of embarrassment. It's a challenging subject. The subject is incontinence. I will be really forthright with you. This is a very difficult subject for me to discuss, but it's one, unfortunately, that I am well versed in. When I was in my caregiving journey, I didn't even know really what the word incontinence means. I heard things about being incontinent, but to actually know what that means, I had to experience it. I had to experience it caring for my mom. And I started to see subtle clues that that was an issue, but I didn't really pay close attention to it. Not out of ignorance, simply because I wasn't aware. I didn't know what I was dealing with. I just saw things, and it never really made sense to me as to why it even existed. I would find issues having to deal with number one, and I would find issues dealing with number two. I have a hard enough time cleaning up after my dog and my cat. I've had pets all my life and I had to deal with that. But it is a whole different level when it's dealing with an adult human being, adding on another layer of a parent, maybe a spouse. In my case, it was a parent. In my case, it was both my parents. There is a teacher, a dementia teacher, an educator. Her name is Teepa Snow. Teepa Snow goes around the country, around the nation, and she educates people on the facets of dementia. She educates people on what it is to be a caregiver caring for a dementia patient. And not only that, she will take the scenario and give a solution, not only addressing the problem, but actually addressing the solution of how to better handle the situation that would enable you to function as a caregiver and how not to offend and uh, make life difficult for the patient, the loved one, the one you're caring for. I couldn't believe it. She had done a seminar in 2012 in British Columbia, Canada. And when I came across this, she actually addressed these issues. And I couldn't believe it. She was speaking about my scenarios. The problem is, I saw this after my mom passed. How helpful it would have been had I had seen this and understood what I was dealing with beforehand. I'm going to be showing you snippets of this conference that she did and examples of having to deal with incontinent scenarios. The first one that I'm going to be showing you has to deal with the simplicity of urine. It's not like picking up after your puppy. But she does describe what the dementia patient is experiencing and us as caregivers, what we need to do. Let's take a look at this.
Last sensation, smell-wise, that they don't recognize as problematic. The last one they don't get, urine and feces. Urine. They do not smell urine and think it's a big problem. It's just not a big deal. So what happens? Well, they're starting to have little accidents because they misjudge the distance to the bathroom, the length of time they have, how quick their bladder's going to empty out. So what happens is they have a little accident. They strip off the wet things and hide them back in the clean clothes drawer. Because you're never going to put them in the dirty clothes because everybody will know you've had an accident. You put them in the closet. You hide them. You hide these things. 2 days later, you find them. They're dry. You put them on. A little stiff, but not bad. You're moving around. Of course, you caregivers notice. Stand up, Suzanne. Now you ready? Now wait a minute, what was that? Do this. Do it. Do it like this. This is when you touch without making a visual connection, a verbal connection, making sure they match. Out of nowhere, you do this. How many of you, if this comes out of a car window, want to go, yeah, come on over, let's talk? How many of you, if somebody sticks this out the car window, going, screw you too? I mean, you're already thinking, I didn't do anything, why are you looking at me like that? What happens when you see this signal? It's a bad sign. That's why I have you do this is touch, because when you touch without an awareness of the other person, of what you're up to, and that it's okay to touch, this is what you get. And you don't realize you're the one that started it. You put your hands on someone. They didn't know what you were about to do. They didn't approve of that. And we do things all the time. We have in our mind. Now, yeah. We need medications. She's so hard to work with. We've never said that, have we? We do. And what happens here is I'm noticing something she's not noticing. I need to quit focusing on the bad, and I need to work on the relationship first. I need to walk up to this person, and even if she reeks of urine, this is also where they have the cats and the dogs, the pets in the house, and they are not noticing. You walk in the house and it's like, and they will say, I just changed that litter box. And the brick is there. This is where, between the memory problems and the lack of awareness of how bad this is, it becomes a dangerous situation. They don't notice that. The amount of urine, ammonia in the air can actually be caustic to a point where it's a danger to a human being, them and you, and they don't notice it. They're not doing it on purpose. It's important that we recognize it, though, and do a timeout, because something's wrong here, and we need to acknowledge it's not by choice, it's the disease.
It seems simple enough, doesn't it? The other part of this is when I was caring for my mom, I would see these displays of incontinence, and I was like, oh my gosh, Mom, how can you live like this? And she would deal with it by not dealing with it. And what I mean by that is I'd address it and I'd say, Mom, what is this? Why? How can you, why? I'll get to it later, Carolyn. I just didn't feel like cleaning it up. I go, how long has it been here? What I'm thinking of in particular is she was on a medicine called metformin, which is a pretty common medication for diabetes. And her endocrinologist had given her anywhere from 500 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams. Well, the problem with Mom was she wasn't even taking her medicine. Again, another clue. And this was before I even got any type of help, any type of therapy of dealing with dementia patients or anything like that. So I was literally winging every single thing and running into all these little scenarios. It creates diarrhea. Those of you that have loved ones that are on metformin may be aware of this. Your body does get acclimated to it and it will dissipate. But, you know, when you're already a dementia patient and you're not taking your medication, okay, so your blood sugar is going like this, but then you're on medication, which can give you diarrhea. And of course, my mother had that issue. Then I didn't even know at the time that she was in danger of being dehydrated, which then can cause a UTI, which then causes psychosis. I mean, it's just like a one domino after another. But what I'm telling you is all the things that I learned. I didn't walk into this with all this knowledge. I walked into this learning all this stuff. And now I'm passing it on to you if you're not aware of it. Believe me, tips and tricks are everything. But in this next clip, Teepa's going to explain what it is like for the dementia patient to even experience the battle of feces. She also explains what it's like as a caregiver, what you may be facing, or how to deal with this. Let's take a look at this.
The last one, feces. This is late in the disease. Okay. Now, what we have thought is we actually use this term playing in their feces. There's no playing involved. What happened is I experienced a sensory experience that I couldn't quite figure out. Something was happening. So I decided to take my hand, which is one of my primary tools for understanding the world around me and that sense of touch, and I put it down here and I grabbed some of it to figure out what it is. I see it and I see brown on my fingers. Now, brown on your fingers. First thought, chocolate. Absolutely. That is the most common thought in the world when you see brown on the fingers, chocolate. So my brain goes, okay, well, taste it and see what you think. So I do, I taste it. Well, it doesn't taste particularly like good chocolate. I don't know, not very good chocolate. So, but now, guess what's happening on my fingers? It's feeling nasty. I'm not liking it. It's getting dry and it's getting tacky and sticky. So now I'm trying to get it off. Now, where am I wiping it? Everywhere, because I'm trying to get it off. Now, this is where it's going to be up under things. It's going to be around things. It's going to be in and moving around things. I'm going to have it up. I'm going to really be touching everything. And I get most of it off, but usually around the cuticles, you'll see a little brown. Under the fingernails. The rails. The arms of the chair. It's there. Oh, the walls, down around the toilet paper holder. Those kind of places. You're going to find it lots of places. This is a heads up for you. You need to use the visual cues to realize in this moment, this sanitation issue is becoming a big deal. But you can't walk in, turn to your person and go, okay. Now I want you to approach your person going, go ahead, because you don't want to touch them. You know you don't. You have your gloves on. You still don't want to touch them. Now try that with your person. Hold them by the forearms like this. Now, how many people, as soon as they did that, you felt the urge to fight? Yeah. We need to recognize when this moment happens, we need to quit acting like the poop police. And we need to appreciate in that moment, boy, did they make a mistake. They made a mistake. They thought it was chocolate.
I wish I would have seen this, but I didn't even know TIPA existed when I was taking care of my mom. Matter of fact, I was taking care of my dad when I started seeing all these little clues and things that were happening. So I didn't know that she existed. I think after a year and a half of living with my mom, after dad passed, I desperately felt isolated. I desperately felt alone, and I didn't know where to seek help. I remember scouring the internet trying to find a support group or just dementia related topics so that I could um, have some sort of knowledge or not feel alone or a resource. But for the longest time, I couldn't find anything. Thank God I did find somehow, some way, Dementia Care Blazers. It's run by Dr. Natali Edmonds out in Phoenix, Arizona, but it is a worldwide network of support for caregivers. And literally, it is worldwide. People outside of the United States as well. We all convene on every Wednesday and we all give each other support and advice and meet each other where we're at so that you don't feel isolated, so you don't feel alone. It's amazing. But I didn't find these people until much later. And it was through those groups that I learned about TIPA Snow and a few other resource educators or programs. And so I'm very, very grateful for that. But with that being said, let's jump into the solution part of TIPA's presentation of how to better handle your loved one in the form of caregiving when you discover there's been an accident.
Gloves on, put long sleeves on, and come in. Suzanne, hey, how are ya? You're looking good. Oh, come on, let's go. Come with me. There we go. I've got gloves on. I've got it taken. You can even double glove if you want. But what you need to do is recognize I need to take control of this situation and I need to make it look and feel okay because she didn't do any of this to cause trouble. You can't walk into that room going, oh my God. They need to do something with her. Okay, because what happened here was a natural event because she couldn't comprehend what was happening to her. She's very late in the disease, but she still may be mobile. What I want to do now is help her get cleaned up. And we have several places to clean up. We can start with the part that's easier to manage out here, and then we've got to do the other part. But what we tend to have is we have people coming in, come help me, it's going to take two of us. Okay, come on. I'm going to hold her, and I want you to strip her pants off, okay? Come on, get out. No, don't. That's it. Come on, we can do. Now watch. God, you're not very good at this. Now, given this scenario, who all is likely to get hurt here? All of us. And what we don't realize is who's precipitating all this trauma. We are, and we're acting as though it's not our fault. But in fact, we're the ones with the big brain. We've got to choose something different.
I can't tell you how many times I failed. I can't begin to tell you how often I would walk into my mom's room and, pardon the expression, lose my shit because of her shit. I'm trying to keep things lighthearted. This is a very difficult subject, and I will not even begin to give myself an excuse as to why I failed so much. But it wasn't until later when I was in caregiving therapy to understand that I was trying to walk into my mom's world and have my mom be normal. But that's the whole thing. She was never really normal. I didn't even know what I was dealing with. You have to remember the doctors never diagnosed her officially with what stage or what form of dementia she may have. I just walked into a situation that didn't make any sense to me. And then when they did tell me that she shows signs of dementia, or, I wasn't going to take her to a neurologist because I was still able to communicate with her. I was still trying to figure my life out. And it wasn't until later, after dad died, that I realized I had to move in with her. And then living with her 24/7 was a whole different bear. I saw everything, I experienced everything. Towards the end of mom's life, what Tipa had actually displayed in the second clip of handling chocolate, I would cry because mom did it at least 3 times a day. I had to disinfect and clean the bedding and anything she touched, and herself. She was bedridden. I don't know what she was doing, but I did it at least 3 times a day of cleaning her up, cleaning everything up for at least 4 days straight. What a nightmare. That by the third time, it was almost like it was my, not punishment, but it was my training ground. The first time I came in, it's like, oh my God, what is this? Okay. And you know what's so bad about that? Is I made her feel that big. She didn't know. She had no idea. And every time it happened, I was being broken. That by the third day, 3 times a day, I was doing this because it was that uncontrollable. Now, I'm going to admit something that I should not be proud of, and I'm going to admit something that mom had constipation issues. I gave her a laxative and I gave her prune juice. I'm sure you're all going, why would you do that? I don't know. I was desperate to try to help my mom not have issues of impacted bowels. And I don't know. I'm not even going to make an excuse. I'm just going to own up to it. It is my fault. My caregiver, Tiffany, I explained it to her. I like, she became a resource for, like, what do I do? What do I do? And she just like looked at me and went, did you not learn anything with the last experience where you doubled up on the laxatives? And I went, no. I laugh about it now, but I admit I was bawling my eyes out. And my poor mother looked at me and was like, I'm so sorry, Carolyn. I didn't know. I'm like, and by the end of the third day and into the fourth day of this happening, I walked in and I could smell it. And I was just like, let me check, mom. It's okay. It's not your fault. And the last 6 times that I had to disinfect and I had to strip everything down and strip her down and clean her up, I was corrected. I made the change. And life was good because I had to come to terms with the reality. She ain't going to change, Carolyn. It's you that has to change. I made life hard for myself, not to mention how I made her feel. That's sad. But my mom's healed today. She's out there. I don't know what she's doing, but she's with Jesus and her body's healed and whole. And we're all doing a big fat do over, aren't we? Hey, I hope you learned something. If you have concerns or you have questions, please make a comment. I'll answer you. And if it's something that you need to do in private because you're embarrassed, I understand that. I think my email should be in the body of this as well. Go ahead, shoot me an email. It's a hard subject, but it's so worth discussing because you're not the only one that's going through this. And I went through it. I survived. Hey, be blessed. And be good to yourself. See you later.